今天是2025年10月15号，我是阿婉。然后，中美将全球卷入了贸易战的一个交火。那这个事件脉络呢，就是最近国币货币基金组织 IBM 就是发布了的折中预测，它其实并不能真实的去反映全球的一个经济的剧烈动荡，因为就在它准备发布的期间，那又发生了很多事情。中美互争港口费，美国对木材家具橱柜加征关税，中国收紧稀土与电池设备的出口，叠加升级了贸易紧张。那全球外溢上来看的话，就是说受此事件的影响，还有欧洲汽车制造受稀土限制，中国造船附加费波及停靠美国港口的非中资船师。那欧盟、加拿大、巴西、墨西哥纷纷采取了钢铁保护性关税，保护主义扩散。其次呢，是在美国的游说下，墨西哥拟对中国的车征收50%的关税。那印度在谴责在遭美对印关税后，他们选择了与中国走近，释放多边主义的信号。随着特朗普政府对华关税口径的多变，时而紧时而松，市场波动加剧。学者称政策不确定性高，且对全球的增长会形成拖累。那尽管说全球仍高度一致，但产业与供应链的再分化加速，中美博弈把第三方经济体推入了交火带。好了，以下是具体的一个英文原文。Trump's trade war with China catches the world in its crossfire. One of the world's main number cruncher released its latest economy report on Tuesday, but the middling forecast from the International Monetary Fund doesn't begin to capture the helter-skelter ride the global economy is on. Even as the IMF was preparing its report, a flurry of developments were already altered the picture. New U.S. tariffs on imported wood, furniture, and kitchen cabinets that are expected to drive up the cost of home building took effect on Tuesday. So did the opening of the higher port entry fees that China and the United States will impose on each other vessels. Tuesday, 10 of the trade war was just one click in a series of repercussions set in motion by President Trump's vow to smash the world's economic order. More will follow. Last week, Beijing decided to sharply step up cuts on its export of rare earth metals, materials, and are essential for the manufacturing of semiconductors, cell phones, wind turbines, and nearly every other modern gadget. New restrictions on equipment needed to produce batteries for electric cars are also scheduled to take effect next month. Mr. Trump's initial fury softened over the weekend after his response led to sharpest deadline in stock since April, when the president's initial barrage of tariffs was announced. Still, his threat to start an additional 100% tariff on Chinese imports was left dangling. The U.S.-China relationship is highly volatile, said Richard Potts, a professor at the London Business School. One doesn't really know what to expect from one day to the next, and that is typically of the current administration. The sharp-up tension between the two economy superpowers is catching other countries. That is almost every country in the crossfire. China's restriction on metals and migrants, for instance, would Afro-European automakers that use those materials and ship them across borders within Europe, and the duties on ships made in China apply even to non-Chinese shipping companies stopping at American ports. On Tuesday, the Chinese government ratcheted up retaliation by identifying American subsidies of the South Korean shipping company Hanwha to its sanction list, accusing the subsidiaries of supporting and assisting the United States in its move in the shipbuilding industry. Beijing and Washington are also essential pressure nations around the globe to take sides. Mexico, one of the world's biggest buyers of Chinese cars, proposed a 50% tariff last month on those vehicles after heavy lobby from the Trump administration. India, meanwhile, has moved closer to China since the White House piqued by New Delhi's continued purchase of Russian oil imports tariff up to 50% on Indian goods. In August, Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited China for the first time in 7 years to attend a security and economy conference, a public display by India's leader that his country has plenty of allies should the Trump administration continue to single it out for punishment. Since Mr. Trump took office, shifts in global trade policy have happened both at high speed and in slow motion, reverberating in broad and unpredictable ways. When Mr. Trump announced his plan this summer to step 50% tariffs on most steel and aluminum coming into the United States, British steel makers felt lucky. Their government had already struck a deal that their steel would be tariffed at only half that amount, 25%. But the move in Britain darkened considerably last week when the European Union announced its own set of punishing tariffs on steel imported into its 27-nation bloc. The policy delivered a gut punch to Britain's steel industry, which sends nearly 80% of its exports to the European Union. Britain, though, wasn't the target of the policy, just a bystander to moves aimed to Beijing and Washington. The 50% EU tariff was directed at China, which has been accused of dumping underpriced steel on the global market. The tax was also designed with an eye to putting the European Union in a better negotiating position with the United States. The Union is ready to work with like-minded countries with a view to reinforce their economies from global overcapacity, the European Union's executive said last week. We will continue exploring ways of working together with the U.S. The protectionism impulse is also going viral, with Canada, Brazil, and Mexico taking steps to shield their homegrown steel makers. Despite the frequent swirl in trade policy, though the global economy will remain highly integrated, said Lucrezia Richlin, a professor at the London Business School, even as the center of gravity shifts towards Asia and away from the West. For now, growth is slowing in both the United States and China, while a pervasive unpredictability characterizes the short and long-term outlooks. Mr. Pauls at the London Business School sums up the dynamic between the world's two largest economies. China has stable, clear, and determined objectives. The Trump administration changes from day to day in its views and its policies. The degree of uncertainty is huge, he added, and that has consequences for the global economy. Thanks for listening. Hope your life fully with happiness and joys and be grateful.